What's going on, guys? So today we're going to be getting right into my second 2k point army list, that being the Chaos Knights. As you can see, I am already on one of the data sheets because we're going to get, this is the first model we're going to be talking about. So we're just going to get right into it. I mean, the first thing that I would say kind of drew me into this army was the synergies it has with the new battle shock and whatnot. I do think that using the new battle shock mechanic is an interesting theme for the army, giving -1s to enemy battle shock tests within 12 inches, and then getting +1 to wound, and then -1 to hit them later, giving them some extra buffs later in the game. And then their detachment rule obviously being pretty solid, where you can force battle shock test on models that are just below half strength, or below starting strength, instead of below half strength when they would normally have to take a battle shock test. So I guess we'll get right into it. It's a 2k point army list, and our first models are going to be the War Dog Stalker. Very solid models here. They are the cheapest War Dogs, I believe, at 135 points. Solid stat line, pretty similar to a lot of the other War Dogs that you're going to see. 12-inch movement with a 10 toughness, 3-up save, and 12 wounds. They do have, all of the models are going to have 5-up invuln saves to ranged attacks, which is pretty solid. I have all of my stalkers, except for one, equipped with Daemon Breath Spears for that extra damage, because that thing can do some gnarly damage up close with Melt of 4 within that 12-inch range, getting the +4 damage, -4 AP, 12 strength, very solid. And then it also has a decent melee profile with the you can either take the Reaper Chain Talon or the Slaughter Claw, I believe. Yep. Me probably taking the Reaper Chain Talon to have a little bit more flexibility on that profile to either be able to take out some bigger crowds or hit a single unit pretty hard, is what I'll probably go. Plus, he has the ability, as a, given kind of going in with the name Stalker, it's a War Dog Stalker, getting a +1 to the wound if the unit on the enemy that it is attacking is isolated from other units within their own army. So if they're not within 6 inches of any other units, the Stalker gets +1 to wound, which is really, really solid. Not much else to say about the Stalker. I really love the model. Really cool having that chain cannon, and the claw is pretty sick, so I'm very looking forward to running some of these guys on the tabletop. Next model, we're going to get into our first abhorrent model, actually. We got, where's he? Knight Rampager. Now, initially when I was building the list and kind of theorizing it, I wanted to run a more melee focused theme for all of my guys. I did have this list has gone through a few different phases, and I think I'm happy with how it's kind of gone now. So these big models, this one has a 12-inch movement, 12 toughness, and 22 wounds, very solid. 6-up leadership is also good with an objective control value of 10. This guy is all about melee. As you can see, he doesn't have a lot in the ways of ranged weapons, just has his heavy stubber, which gives him rapid fire 3, but there's no AP, 1 damage shot. Might be able to whittle down some infantry before charging in, but he has oh, I skipped the melee weapons. He has the Reaper Chainsword and the Warp Strike Claw, both extremely solid options. If you're trying to sweep things, go on a wide arc, you're probably going to go with the Chainsword sweep, rolling 18 dice, and then you can take your pick between the strike profiles if you want higher AP, a little bit less damage, or high strength, a little bit lower AP but higher damage to get stuff in there. He also does have a ability, aura, the Frenzied Rampage aura, that gives his War Dogs the ability to reroll a hit roll of 1 within 9 inches. Also comboing really well with the stratagem that they actually have, Chaos Knights stratagems, a long leash, where you can actually select one abhorrent model and then up to 3 War Dogs, and then those War Dogs are actually counted as being within range of that aura ability that the model has. So you can give them those rerolls, even if they're the full table away, which I do think is really solid. And then it also has the Bloodlust. When it charges, he is going to gain sustained hits 1, so there's exploding critical hits. And just an added ability to that Bloodlust ability is he is eligible to declare or to advance and charge one time in a game, which is really good. With a 12-inch movement, he could definitely actually cover some pretty scary distance with an advance and charge. And you don't want this guy getting in because that melee profile is pretty nasty, and he's pretty durable. 5-up invul and save to range, 12 toughness, 22 wounds. Definitely looking really solid. Very happy to keep this guy didn't get any points changes from, I know Knights being a little strong, at least in the competitive scene from what I've heard, being pretty strong, so they ended up getting some points changes. I don't really mind that much. I just had to kind of mix my list around, which I actually think I ended up at a better list than what I was going to have before, so I'm really happy with it. My last character model, another abhorrent model, is going to be Knight Abominant. He will also be my warlord. And Knight Abominant, while he did get some point increases. He's actually right here. You can say hi to him right there. He's not painted. I will probably paint him in a future video though, so stay tuned for that later. A little bit less movement, same toughness, same wounds, basically same everything else, same save, leadership, OC. He's a 5-up ranged, invul like most of the models. He has a little bit better of a mix between shooting and melee, with the Volkite Combustor having 9 shots, 12 strength, no AP, 3 damage, but it does have devastating wounds, so you can get some mortals through. And then in addition, you can also fire off the Heavy Stubber. Heavy Stubber I've found, typically, unless you're fighting some really weak infantry, isn't going to be doing a whole lot, but you can definitely hit a few damage in there and maybe whittle down some infantry, as I've said before. In terms of melee, the Electro Scourge has exploding 6s, and he has an extra attack with a Bale Mace, and the Electro Scourge profile isn't actually that bad with 9 attacks, hitting on 3-ups, 10 strength, minus 2 AP, 3 damage, very solid. And then the Bale Mace with a few extra attacks that'll always be going off that you can maybe chip some things down with that minus 1 AP, 2 damage. Now this is where the money's made on this model, is the abilities, having Vortex Terrors, which actually lets you force battle shock test at the start of your shooting phase. So anything within 12 inches, you can just be like, that guy's got to take a battle shock test, or that unit's got to take a battle shock test, which can be really helpful in order to get that +1 to wound or -1 to hit on you, and things like that. Or you can get some of your stratagems buffed. There's a few in here that maybe. Ooh, it's only on War Dogs. My inexperience is showing. However, you still got other things like you can do select a Chaos Knights with this Disdain for the Weak stratagem, and against battle shocked opponents, your model actually gets a 5-up Feel No Pain, which is really good. Very solid. Increases the durability on already considered pretty durable models, unless they have a ton of anti-tank, like last cannons and stuff, or just big damage guns and stuff, like single target type stuff. Or they have like a Psychophage. I was playing a little scrimmage type game with my dad the other day, and because Abominant is a Psyker, he got that anti-Psyker 2-up, and holy, that thing shredded through those wounds like no one's business. It was pretty crazy. But second ability that he has is Warp Storms, where he can do D3 mortal wounds for each unit within 9 inches at the end of his movement, as long as you roll a 3-up on that unit to do those D3 mortals. So you can do some mortals and whatnot. You can force battle shock test. Decent split of melee and shooting. Very solid model, and he's gonna be my warlord, leading these knights into battle. Now we got the battle line. So we have one Wardog Brigand. This one is a shooting model, designated kind of just firing away at things. Has the ability to gain +1 armor penetration if you are targeting the closest unit, which is really solid. It has a vast selection of ranged weapons you can equip it with. I haven't edited the loadout, obviously. I kind of just got in here, but you can switch the Heavy Stubber with a Havoc multi-launcher. Otherwise, it is equipped with everything else, which can be really solid. You got the Daemon Breath Spear, the auto cannon, and then me, myself, I'm not sure if I'm going to switch out the Heavy Stubber for the multi-launcher. That indirect fire. Indirect fire is seeming pretty decent, but who knows? We'll see what's going on with that or how I'm feeling once I actually start to table these guys. But yeah, the War I'm bringing, again, all the stat lines are going to be basically the same throughout all the War Dogs and whatnot. This guy's definitely going to be artillery. And then talking about artillery, we have a second designated shooting model with the Wardog Executioner. So the Executioner is a shooting model that is specialized at taking down half strength model or half strength units. So when he attacks units below half strength, you get +1 to your hit roll. This guy does have some ranged weapons. He has the Damon Breath Melt-A-Gun, which I'm pretty sure that you can actually swap out some war gear stuff. Yeah, you can switch the stubber with the Melt-A-Gun. And I believe he comes with 2 Wardog autocannons, so you can fire both of those. 8 shots, -1 AP, 3 damage, +1 to hit, so you'll hit on 2-ups against half-strength units. So, I mean, he does earn the name Executioner. It's his whole thing. Executing models that are below that half-strength, which is pretty good, and I'm including at least one in my list to maybe finish off some models with some of that shooting. That 48-inch range gun seems pretty solid. Next up is one Wardog Huntsman. Now, the Huntsman is a specialized Wardog that is good at taking down monsters and vehicles, where they can re-roll a wound roll of 1 and a damage roll of 1. That's really good. For example, their Meltas, their Damon Breath Melt-A-Gun or their Damon Breath Spear. They also have the heavy stubber as well. You can also switch out the stubber for the Melt-A-Gun. So you could just take it full on Melta weapons and just try to shred things that are within, or like, you know, shred monsters, vehicles, or just anything that finds yourself within that range, that 12 to 6-inch range. Has also the Reaper Chain Talon, so it does have a decent melee profile as well. I always love these 2 profile weapons that give you a little bit more flexibility. So I'm a huge fan of having the Reaper Chain Talon on this model. You can choose to either go big AP, big damage, or a little bit weaker, but you can hit a wider area. Very much a big fan of that. So the Huntsman, very solid model, just in case we got some monsters or vehicles on the field. And then lastly, I'm running 2 Wardog Carnivores. Now, as you can see, that puts me at a flat 2,000 points, which means I cannot put enhancements on, which is a little unfortunate. With the points changes, I did actually have Panoply of the Cursed Knight on my Knight Abominant, but, you know, it is what it is. I really would have liked to have the -1 AP on him, but this way I had to change some stuff out. I got rid of an Abhorrent model, actually, and then I got a lot more War Dogs, which I think will benefit me in the long run. Having a lot of those tough War Dogs on the field with their specialized stuff is going to be really solid, I think. Now, the Carnivore is kind of the what I initially had thought I wanted to do for the army, being really melee focused, because these guys have barely any. They don't got really a lot of range. You can switch out. You can pick between the 2, between the heavy stubber or the multi launcher. But they got that melee. They have the Reaper Chain Talon and a Slaughter Claw. Typically, you're not going to be using the Chain Talon strike profile very much, but you will, because you'll just probably use the Slaughter Claw if you're going to try to hit a single model. But the sweep is also a very solid profile with 12 dice being rolled. I also do love that this model hits on 2-ups, really trying to double down on that hitting, on that melee prowess. Very solid model, and it also even helped further by the fact that it can re-roll its charge rolls. Plus, in the addition of actually having a 14-inch movement compared to some of the other War Dogs with like a 12-inch movement, getting a little bit of extra threat range and those re-rolls on charges is going to be really solid. So yeah, that actually, you know, not a lot of models to talk about in this army because they don't really table a lot of models in this army. So in terms of paint schemes, I haven't really thought of anything. I really like the Night Rampager's paint scheme, and I like the War Dog Carnivore's paint schemes. So I might try to do something like that. I actually probably should just educate myself. I got the army set for the Chaos Knights, so I do have their old codex. I could read up and learn a little bit about some of the Knight households and whatnot, and some of their color schemes, and maybe kind of decide what I want to do based on that, which could be really cool. I have a little bit of a setup here. I got my Knight Abominant that you can see right here, unpainted. Got Mazrog Scragbad, my goat, if you watched my last video. And then another model I didn't talk about, the Death Dread, who is another very fun model I love to use. But yeah, in terms of paint schemes, I'll get on that, and I'll try to figure out what I should do for that. when it comes to getting these models, I'll obviously make builds for these guys, build videos. However, the first models that I will be building on the channel is going to be for my 2K point orcs list for the Beast Snaga orcs, my Great White Snake Bites. You'll be seeing that actually pretty soon here on the channel, which will be very hype. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you what you think of the different war dogs, how I took at least one of every war dog except for the Forge World option. Let me know what you think. Should I run one of a different one, or stuff like that? What would you do? What kind of war dogs are your favorites? Me personally, I am partial to the war dog carnivores. I'm a big fan of these guys. They just look so sick, and I mean, just the bone heads and everything is just really cool. Very much a big fan of the war dog carnivores for sure. So let me know what you think. And then next up on our little 2K point army list roadmap, we're going to be talking about the Chaos Daemons next. So I'll see you there.